The Big Bang Theory wasn't just a sitcom, it was a cultural phenomenon that turned quirky scientists into global icons and made nerd culture cool. For over a decade, we laughed with them, cried with them, and watched them grow. But once the cameras stopped rolling, the real stories began. Some stars rose even higher, others faced devastating losses, and a few simply vanished from the spotlight. This is the Big Bang Theory cast, then and now, with all the shocking twists you never saw coming. If you're a true Big Bang fan, smash that like button and drop a comment below. Which cast member's journey surprised you the most? Stephen Hawking played himself on The Big Bang Theory, appearing not just as a celebrity cameo, but as a living legend, an icon of genius whose very presence made the universe feel both bigger and closer. With just a few lines, he left a lasting impression, humbling, hilarious, unforgettable. Born in 1942 in wartime Oxford, Stephen was raised in a household full of ideas and curiosity. He wasn't a top student, but people around him quickly noticed. He saw the world differently. And that quiet spark turned into something brilliant when he arrived at Cambridge. But just as he began his climb into academic greatness, tragedy struck. At 21, he was diagnosed with ALS, a brutal disease that slowly shuts down the body's ability to move. Doctors gave him 2 years to live. 2 years. For most people, that's the end. For Stephen, it was the beginning of something extraordinary. The more his body failed him, the deeper he reached into the mysteries of the universe. No giving up, no backing down, only forward. He became a legend. His work on black holes, including what we now call Hawking radiation, changed science forever. And a brief. History of time didn't just stay in labs and lecture halls. It landed in the hands of millions, helping people everywhere connect with ideas they once thought were too complex to grasp. But behind the spotlight was a quiet, devastating war. ALS took him piece by piece. He lost the ability to walk, to talk, to eat like everyone else. Only one muscle in his cheek remained under his control, and through it he operated a speech device. That synthetic voice, it became the voice of a generation, a declaration, "I'm still here, and I have something to say." His personal life was as complicated as his science was elegant. Jane Wilde, his first wife, stood by him for decades through the darkest times. They had 3 children, but the strain of his condition and rising fame wore on the marriage. His second marriage to his nurse Elaine Mason was even more controversial and ended in heartbreak. On the outside, he was the world's most admired mind. On the inside, he was a man waging battle after battle against illness, isolation, and time itself. Stephen Hawking passed away on March 14, 2018, Galileo's death date, Einstein's birthday. A poetic ending to a life that was anything but ordinary. He died peacefully at home in Cambridge, but the echo of his life still vibrates across the cosmos. He once said, "However difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at." That wasn't advice, it was his manifesto. Hawking didn't just study black holes, he lit up the darkness inside us all. And though his body is gone, that voice, defiant, wise, eternal, still speaks. Adam West played himself in The Big Bang Theory, and even though it was just a quick cameo, he wasn't just another guest star, he was a legend. For Sheldon and the gang, meeting Adam wasn't like meeting a celebrity. It felt like touching a piece of their childhood. They weren't just meeting a man, they were meeting Batman. Back in 1966, Adam West became Batman on TV. Suave, funny, and with that iconic square jaw, he delivered lines like, "To the Batmobile," with a seriousness so pure it was charming. Kids believed in him. Adults chuckled at the camp. He brought color, humor, and heart into a superhero world that was often dark and brooding. Adam wasn't playing Batman, he was Batman. But that cape slowly turned into a cage. When the show ended in 1968, Hollywood turned away. People couldn't see him as anyone else. The roles stopped coming, the calls stopped ringing. From the height of fame, he tumbled into obscurity. And for a man who once soared, that fall wasn't just career-ending, it was identity-shattering. He could have faded away like so many others. But Adam West chose a different path. He didn't run from Batman's shadow. He walked right into it and made it his own. He lent his voice to animated shows, showed up at pop culture conventions with a grin and a wink, and on Family Guy, he played a hilariously offbeat version of himself. Unexpectedly, a whole new generation fell in love with him all over again. By owning his past, he took control of his future. No starring roles, no blockbuster hits. But somehow, Adam West stepped back into the spotlight on the very thing that once boxed him in. In 2017, he passed away at age 88 after a short battle with leukemia. That night, the city of Los Angeles lit up the bat signal across the sky. Not for a role, not for a show, but for a man who fell quietly, rose with laughter, and left behind a light that never dimmed. He once said, "Sometimes you just have to play the role you're given." And that's exactly what he did, right up until the very end. Stan Lee only appeared briefly in The Big Bang Theory, but his presence needed no introduction. Just look at the excitement in the character's eyes, or the fans watching at home, and you'd know he wasn't just a guest star, he was childhood itself. The man who molded dreams in capes that soared beyond everyday fear. But behind that warm smile and iconic glasses was a man who had endured real deep pain. Born in 1922 during the Great Depression, Stan's childhood was marked by scarcity. His family struggled to get by. Young Stan found escape in books, stories, and worlds without limits. When he got his chance to write comics, he poured his soul into them. In the 1960s, he co-created Spider-Man, the X-Men, Iron Man, flawed heroes, misunderstood and human. In truth, they were reflections of himself. Marvel rose into an empire. The world applauded, and Stan was quietly pushed aside. As the company grew, legal battles followed. Stan slowly lost control over the very characters he created. His name stayed on the covers, but the power and the heart were gone. He watched billions being made from his imagination while he fought just to be acknowledged. He was the father of superheroes, yet he was shut out of the family table. For many, that would have been the end. But Stan Lee? He turned wounds into legacy. He didn't hide. He became the face of Marvel, appearing in hundreds of cameos, shaking fans' hands, bringing joy wherever he went. He stepped into the spotlight not for fame, but because he knew if the world kept seeing him, they wouldn't forget he was the one who started it all. Still, life struck one last blow in his final years. His beloved wife, Joan, passed away in 2017 after nearly 70 years of marriage. Then came lawsuits, care scandals, betrayal by trusted aides. The man who gave hope to millions spent his final days surrounded by chaos, alone and vulnerable. Yet he still showed up at conventions, on screens, with that same unstoppable smile. Stan Lee died on November 12, 2018, at the age of 95. The world went silent. Tributes poured in from actors, politicians, fans, people who grew up believing anyone could be a hero because of him. He once said, "That person who helps others simply because it's the right thing to do, that's a real superhero." Stan wasn't just talking about his characters, he was talking about himself. He built a universe from nothing, was knocked down, and still stood back up again and again, and that's why he was the greatest hero of all. Carrie Fisher played herself in The Big Bang Theory, appearing in a quick but unforgettable cameo. Just a few seconds, bursting out with a bat, yelling at James Earl Jones, and suddenly the room belonged to her. She wasn't just a guest star, she was Carrie Fisher, sharp, fearless, and still stealing scenes decades after Star Wars. Born into the glare of Hollywood, Carrie's childhood was a mosaic of red carpets and family turmoil. Her mother, Debbie Reynolds, was an icon. Her father, Eddie Fisher, walked out when she was just 2. Surrounded by fame but starved of grounding, Carrie turned to words, wit, and eventually a galaxy far, far away. At 19, she became Princess Leia. Not just a damsel or a fighter, but a cultural earthquake wrapped in white robes and sarcasm. She was brilliant, biting, unforgettable. But behind the tough girl on screen was a soul spiraling into addiction, bipolar episodes, and breakdowns. The tabloids never let her forget. The collapse didn't come all at once. It was slow, cruel, and public. Pills, rehab. A diagnosis of bipolar disorder that explained the chaos but didn't end it. For years, Carrie became the punchline to her own pain, and then the one telling the jokes. She weaponized her trauma in memoirs like Wishful Drinking and The Princess Diarist, delivering raw truth laced with brutal humor. She made millions laugh while quietly bleeding inside. In the 2000s, she began to rise again, not as a young starlet, but as a weathered, wiser voice. She became a mental health advocate before it was trendy. She called out Hollywood, called out stigma, and most bravely called herself out. Her comeback wasn't about sequels, it was about survival. But pain doesn't always stay buried. On December 23, 2016, Carrie collapsed on a flight from London to Los Angeles. 4 days later, she died. A heart attack, drugs in her system, a lifetime of wounds her body could no longer carry. The next day, as if the universe couldn't bear the thought of them apart, her mother died too. The world mourned not just a star, but a voice, a survivor, a woman who fought every demon with a pen, a laugh, and a middle finger. Her daughter, Billie Lourd, carries that fire now. Carrie once wrote, "Take your broken heart, make it into art." That's exactly what she did. She turned breakdowns into books, sorrow into satire, and scars into scripts. Leia may have been royalty in a galaxy far away, but Carrie Fisher? She was a queen in this one, flawed, fierce, and unforgettable. Bob Newhart played Professor Proton in The Big Bang Theory, a gentle, ghostly mentor who appeared to Sheldon like a Jedi in a lab coat. It was meant to be a one-off, but what started as a joke turned into something profound. Newhart, in just a few scenes, reminded the world that subtle comedy, quiet, awkward, brilliantly timed, still had power. But long before that soft-spoken professor lit up the screen, Bob Newhart nearly faded from it. In the 1960s, he was a sensation. A former accountant turned accidental comic, Bob released a comedy album made entirely of stammering, one-sided phone calls. It hit #1, beat out Elvis, and made him a Grammy-winning legend overnight. For a while, he was everywhere. His own shows, late-night TV, talk show circuits. His style was clean, calm, different, and that was the problem. As the world changed, Bob didn't. Hollywood started chasing louder laughs, edgier punchlines. His understated delivery became old-fashioned. Offers slowed. Audiences drifted. For decades, he kept performing, but often felt like a relic in an industry that had moved on without him. He could have quit. But Bob Newhart never chased trends. He waited. Then came The Big Bang Theory. As Professor Proton, he didn't shout. He barely moved. But with each line, dry, weary, perfectly measured, he captivated a whole new generation. He didn't update his style. The world finally caught up with it. That role earned him his first Emmy, more than 50 years into his career. It wasn't a comeback. It was a quiet, dignified reminder. Legends don't fade. They wait for their moment. In his final years, Bob continued to act, lend his voice to young Sheldon, and even perform stand-up well into his 90s. But time caught up. On July 18, 2024, Bob Newhart passed away at age 94. No scandal, no noise, just a silent exit, fitting for a man who built an empire out of pauses and quiet. He once said, "Laughter gives us distance. It allows us to step back from an event, deal with it, and then move on." And that's what he gave us, distance from the chaos through calm, through timing, through the kind of humor that doesn't slap you in the face, but settles in and stays. Bob Newhart didn't just teach us how to laugh, he showed us how to last. And in the end, the man who made silence funny left in silence too. Kaley Cuoco played Penny, the aspiring actress next door who stumbled into a world of science, sarcasm, and unexpected love. For 12 years, she was America's sweetheart, but when the show ended in 2019, so did the comfort of certainty. The applause stopped, the cameras went dark, and Kaley? She was left standing in the quiet. She could have coasted, let Penny define her forever. But Cuoco chose a harder road, the kind where you have to reinvent yourself, not just as an actress, but as a person. She didn't wait for Hollywood to hand her a second act, she built it. Kaley launched her own production company, Yes Norman Productions, and immediately took a risk most wouldn't, The Flight Attendant, a dark, twisty drama where she played Cassie Bowden, a spiraling alcoholic caught in a murder mystery. Gone was the bubbly charm. In its place, chaos, guilt, panic, and Cuoco nailed it. The role earned her Emmy and Golden Globe nominations, not just recognition, but redemption. She wasn't just Penny anymore, she was fearless. At the same time, she voiced Harley Quinn in an animated series, violent, vulgar, and bold. Kaley brought madness and vulnerability to the role in equal measure, making it one of the most unexpected wins of her career. But the rise didn't erase the fall. Behind the scenes, The Big Bang Theory's ending wasn't the fairy tale farewell she wanted. In 2017, Kaley and the main cast agreed to take pay cuts to boost salaries for their co-stars, a noble gesture that came with backstage tension. Then in 2018, Jim Parsons announced he was leaving. Cuoco had no idea. His decision meant the show was over. No warning, no discussion, just done. She later admitted it broke her heart, and then came the final blow. Penny, her Penny, ended the series with an unplanned pregnancy. A twist Cuoco strongly disagreed with. It felt wrong, rushed, like a betrayal of everything Penny stood for. She smiled on set, but inside she was gutted. After that, silence, no sitcom offers, no clear path, just doubt. And the question that haunts every TV icon, was that it? Kaley didn't flinch. She pushed forward. She starred in Meet Cute, a time loop romantic comedy with Pete Davidson. Then came Based on a True Story, a sharp satire of America's obsession with murder podcasts. Some said she was playing the same type. She didn't care. She was building momentum. Now she's preparing for perhaps her biggest challenge yet, portraying Hollywood legend Doris Day in an upcoming biographical series, a role that could define a new chapter, one she's ready for. Born on November 30th, 1985, Kaley Cuoco is now 39 years old. She lives in California, balancing her growing production career with motherhood, having welcomed her first child in 2023. After Penny, after the heartbreak and rebirth, she didn't just find her next role, she found herself. Kaley Cuoco never asked to be underestimated, but she learned how to rise because of it. She once said that after Big Bang, she feared she'd never find something that matched its success. But maybe she didn't need to match it. Maybe she just needed to outgrow it. And that's exactly what she's doing, step by step, scene by scene. Not just surviving life after Penny, but rewriting what it means to move on, with fire, with flaws, and with the kind of strength that doesn't need a laugh track to be heard. Jim Parsons played Sheldon Cooper in The Big Bang Theory, the genius with zero social skills and 1,000 quirks who somehow became the heart of the show. For 12 seasons, Jim didn't just act, he inhabited Sheldon. Every tick, every tone, every blank stare was precise, perfect, and the world couldn't get enough. He won 4 Emmys, a Golden Globe, and by the final season he was the highest-paid actor on TV, pulling in $1 million per episode. But that success came with a price. By 2018, The Big Bang Theory was a juggernaut. CBS offered Parsons $50 million to keep going, but instead of saying yes, he said goodbye, not out of arrogance, out of exhaustion. He later confessed he was burnt out. He'd recently lost a beloved pet, and it made him realize life was short, too short to keep playing it safe. His decision ended the show. He knew it would. Castmates were stunned, fans were blindsided, Parsons became the man who walked away from a gold mine. And for a while, he vanished. No sitcoms, no laugh tracks, just silence. This could have been the end. Another actor defined by one role. But Jim Parsons wasn't finished. He was just getting honest. He resurfaced not as Sheldon, but as a ruthless talent agent in Hollywood, a Netflix miniseries that earned him another Emmy nomination. Gone was the awkward innocence. In its place, manipulation, swagger, teeth. Then came Spoiler Alert, a romantic drama that stripped him bare, emotionally and physically. No quirks, no punchlines. Just a man grieving, loving, breaking. And audiences saw it. Jim Parsons had range. In 2024, he returned to Broadway, not to charm, but to lead. He played the stage manager in Our Town, guiding audiences through life, love, and death. That same year, he shared the stage with Jessica Lange in Mother Play, a searing look at family, queerness, and the pain of growing up. It wasn't comfortable, it wasn't safe, but it was real. Behind the curtain, Parsons and his husband Todd Spywak continued building That's Wonderful Productions, a company dedicated to stories that matter. One of their proudest works? Special, a raw, funny, unapologetically queer series about a man with cerebral palsy, Emmy-nominated, groundbreaking, and deeply personal. Born on March 24, 1973, Jim Parsons is now 52 years old. He lives in New York with Spywak, continuing to champion stories that matter on stage, on screen, and behind the scenes. His life no longer revolves around one character, it revolves around truth. People still ask, will Sheldon ever return? Jim once joked it would take a resurrection, but the real answer is simpler. He doesn't need to return. He already left a legacy. He once said he feared becoming someone who stayed too long just because they were scared to leave. He left, and in doing so, he became more than a character. He became an artist. From comic book stores to Nobel Prizes, The Big Bang Theory gave us a decade of laughter, love, and unforgettable moments. But what truly made it special were the actors who brought those characters to life, and the real journeys they've taken since. Fame, failure, reinvention, and resilience. Every one of them has a story worth telling. And just like the universe they joked about, their lives are still expanding. If you enjoyed this look behind the scenes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of the stars you love. Until next time, live long and keep watching.